Welcome back to Sweet Tea and Coffee. I hope you had a Merry Christmas. John, how was your Christmas?
Man, I loved it. The kids, they woke up a little early, but we had a great morning. It was just sweet family time, you know. It was our first time together here in NAC, and I think that's a memory I'll cherish forever. So
Okay,
I loved it.
I'm going to totally roast John right now because we're recording this before Christmas. But I just wanted to put that out there. I hope you had a great Christmas.
I was just trying to play along.
I hope you have a great Christmas. But today is the long-awaited Q&A episode. We have been talking about this one for a couple months now, and we are going to tackle all the burning questions that you have, and we're going to be completely honest and truthful about it, too.
Let's do this.
All right. Okay, well, here we go. Hey, John, what did you get for Christmas since we were on that?
I would love to tell you, but it's top secret.
It's top secret, yeah, that you don't know yet. Okay, well, today is the Q&A episode, and we're pretty excited about that. We got a lot of great questions. Now, I did have to filter through all of them, so if your question doesn't get asked, or I'm sorry, there's no personal offense to you in that, but we couldn't answer all of them, so we picked out 6 or 7 questions that we're going to try to tackle today, and then maybe we'll get to the other ones sometime in the future. All right, John, you have any thoughts or questions?
Well, and just wherever you're listening to this podcast, it's the 28th. You might be traveling. You might have just seen family. Who knows? Maybe you've gathered your family around the fire to listen to this podcast with a cup of eggnog and a cup of hot cocoa.
Yeah.
We're grateful you're here today. Know that even if you're not in Nacogdoches, we're excited about having you back soon, and we're excited to see you. But these Q&As, y'all did pretty good. These are some good questions.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, so let's just come out of the gate hot. So this is a real serious one right off the bat. So, John, what is your favorite meal that your wife makes? Ooh, on the spot.
My wife is a phenomenal cook.
Mm-hmm.
She has this tendency where she can't make the same meal twice.
Okay, yeah.
So we've been married, let's see, in February it'll be 5 years. So because she can't make the same meal twice, I've gotten a lot of different meals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, man, that's a great question. It's a great question. You better be thinking about your answer.
I am thinking about my answer. Because I feel like I'm in the same boat, because actually she is a really good cook, but she likes to experiment and make a lot of different things. And so I'm actually going to not go with a meal, but I'm going to say one specific thing that she's been making as of recently that has not been good for me. She has figured out how to make praline candy. And this time of year, goodness, I mean, I just eat it like nonstop. And so I probably have diabetes now. But she makes a fantastic praline candy.
She's actually given me some. It's sweet.
It's really sweet.
It's really sweet.
And I think the batch that you got wasn't even the sweetest that she's made some that's like you put it in your mouth and it just melts away and it's just pure sugar.
I felt like a kid came by and just pushed the bag of sugar into the bowl.
That's pretty much all it is. It's just like getting sugar real hot and putting some other stuff in there with it.
So on the complete opposite side of Blake, which by the way, if you're analyzing diets, Blake and I do have a drastically different
Absolutely. That's
diet.
what's called sweet tea and coffee.
So I would say Melina makes these zucchini boats, which sounds weird, I get it, but she takes a large piece of zucchini, makes it into like a canoe,
Okay.
and fills it with anything that you would put in a taco.
Okay.
And then bakes that and like puts cheese on things. I've learned a love language for Melina is just giving her more cheese. She loves cheese.
I don't think you can go wrong with that.
Cheese on everything.
Yeah.
And so, I would say the zucchini boats are my favorite. But she does make some pretty mean cookies.
Yeah.
Makes some mean.
Well, then I'll add to that. It
cookies.
actually makes really, really good chili, which I always
go.
enjoy that this time of year as well. All right, next question. What is your favorite book to read to your kids?
Well, obviously the Bible.
The Bible.
Yes.
It's the only book we read. King
Yeah.
James Version.
Yes. While we do read the Bible, my 3-year-old right now loves two things. He loves dinosaurs and he loves large construction vehicles. So he loves a T-Rex and he loves an excavator. And so we read two books. We read Old MacDonald Had a Farm, except it's Old MacDonald Bought an Excavator. And it's like a modern retelling of what farm life is. And so I don't think I'm afraid to say this. My 3-year-old knows about as much as I do about large farm machinery. And then we got another one, and it's like a book. Emily Singer actually picked it up for us one time, and it's a book that combines dinosaurs with different machinery. So it's like a T-Rex, but it's also like a front loader, or it's a T-Rex and it's an excavator, or a T-Rex, whatever. And I don't know, they just do fun things. Yeah. And my kids eat it up. The third book I would say is the Don't Push the Button book. You ever seen this book?
No.
So the whole book it just says like, don't push the button. And my 2-year-old just goes crazy on pushing this button. And it's like, it has a story of don't push the button, and there's a button on the page, and then you slam it, and he said, uh-oh, you pushed the button. Oh. And then like there's 2 of the character, and then he said, push it again. And there's like 4, and then anyways, you get to push the button a lot. Okay. So like I said, very educational and spiritual and theological. We do also read from their storybook Bible, but
those are the fun ones. That
yeah.
Yeah, so my kids are a little older, so we don't have like standard books that we read like every night kind of deal now. A lot of my older kids have gotten into reading like longer novel type things, and so we'll read different books, and Charlotte's Web, and there's this one that we just read. Oh, I don't know the name of it, but it involves a swan that plays a trumpet. I don't remember. It's apparently one of those classic books. I don't know, but the dad swan in this book is real like extravagant and like, I don't know. He just is over the top.
Kind of like you?
Yeah, over like me. And so when we read it, I like to like read the different parts and different voices. It always gives the kids a pretty good chuckle whenever I
the people want to hear
act it out.
What does the dad swan sound like?
I don't even remember. I make it up. Actually, his voice changes pretty much by every line or every night that we read it. We finished that book, so but that's one that we read, or that's one of them we read recently. So, all right.
Hey, do you think on that line though that we have to have our children read super classics?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's some that are good, that some not so much. I mean, I kind of let my older girls, they kind of read what interests them, and Emery, she is a huge reader, which I'm impressed and proud of, because that's something that I wish I would have done more of growing up when I was her age. But she reads every night, and she will devour a book quickly. It doesn't take her long to go through one.
Who's a faster reader, you or her?
Oh, I'm sure she is. I'm sure she reads much better than me. All right, next question. And this is a very specific question, and I feel like there might be some backstory from the people who submitted it. But what are you doing New Year's Eve?
Well, this one's fun. I'll be spending it with my family up in the Fort Worth area, and my wife will actually be in Georgia with her best friend, Kelsey. Okay. Some of y'all remember Kelsey. Well, Kelsey has gotten married. She lives in Houston for a while.
Having a baby.
And she's about to have a baby.
Yeah.
And so my wife is going up to Georgia to just spend some time with her before she has a kid. But the due date is very close to there. So I could totally see this being one of the scenarios where you were supposed to fly back on the 2nd, but she's in labor. And so you're there for, 30 more days. So that's what we're doing on New Year's Eve. What about y'all?
I'm going to bed early. That's what I do on New Year's Eve. I don't really do anything crazy.
So. Name the last time that you stayed up and you watched like the ball drop in New York.
I mean, I had to have been in college or something. It's been a long time. I don't even remember.
And even then, you probably said, "Why am I up this late?"
Yeah, I probably watched the 11 p.m. When it happened. Oh
yeah,
on the East
the
Coast.
one that's an hour.
Yeah, early. Yeah. So and then went to bed.
Hey, do you think fireworks should be a part of New Year's, or is that solely supposed to be a July 4th thing?
I don't really have a problem with it. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It makes more sense July 4th, but if they're looking for another reason to sell fireworks, then I guess it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, fireworks still scare me because I live right next to the football stadium. So every time the Jacks win, I get a heart
It's
attack
a big explosion.
because
Yeah.
10 minutes of fireworks come out of nowhere. But
All right, next one. If you had to move to another country, where would you move?
Blake, why don't you go first on this one?
Yeah, I thought long and hard about this one. I think that I would maybe move to Arkansas. Actually, I didn't think long and hard, but that is the first thing that came to my mind. You know, it's a whole nother country.
You're not wrong. You're not. We used to have an arm bearer named Taylor Frey, and he was from Arkansas. And
Yeah.
that's a whole other country.
Goodness, I don't know. I'm not sure if I've ever really given a lot of thought to this. What do you think?
Well, I should preface this by saying I've never really left the country. I've gone to Haiti, and once I went to Puerto Rico, but even then, that's not technically leaving the country.
That's actually, yeah, no, it's not.
So, but I promise you, if you step out of that plane, you're in a different country.
Right, yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Europe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can think of some places I'd like to visit and check out. I don't know about living.
I could see myself like living in Amsterdam.
Yeah, I went there one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a layover for like 24 hours there.
Could you see me living there?
Yeah, because they ride a lot of bikes. Everybody's
Perfect.
on bikes over there. Crazy amounts of bikes. So yeah.
Perfect. I feel like a little bit of backstory. I commute on my bike to work often, so that's why Blake said that. But I would love to live somewhere in like classic European vibe. Now, what does that look like raising children? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do.
Yeah, I've thought about. Yeah, I don't know if I want to live, but I would enjoy visiting Europe and checking out some historical sites. Like I think it would, and I think it's just beautiful in certain areas of Europe and Germany and Austria and places like that. I'd love to go check some of that area out.
You know, I'll add another part to my answer. I've always wanted to live somewhere cold. Now, I love Nacogdoches. I have no plan on moving, so no one freak out. But I've always wanted to experience a real winter.
Yeah.
Like a 5-month winter. I've never experienced it. I love the snow. I love the cold. I love all of those things. Now, everyone who has experienced that says, well, just wait till you're there. You're going to hate it.
Yeah.
But I'd love to experience it.
You might as well just experience it, and then you can make that judgment call. You know.
Yeah, so maybe I'll need to move to like Ontario or something.
Yeah, or Michigan or somewhere. So
Another country, yeah.
Yeah, another country. Okay, this one is kind of similar to the last question. It's what language do you wish that you could speak?
This is a great question.
Yeah, English.
Yeah, I'm pretty terrible at it. If you come to my Sunday school class, you'll know I'm pretty terrible at English. I think it would be fantastic to speak one of the languages, like a fictional language. Like to speak Klingon or to speak the language of the elves.
I knew that was coming.
And
yeah,
from Tolkien. I think it would be phenomenal just to have this skill to carry on a conversation.
It's probably about as useful as Latin.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a very traditional, straightforward answer and say Klingon.
Yeah. I don't know. Because English is so standardized now, almost anywhere that you travel. I mean, most places that I've traveled in the world, which is not that many, but like I could still communicate pretty well in English with people that were there. I mean, I do think I know a little Spanish. I can understand Spanish if they're speaking slow enough and I'm paying attention. But I think I would like to be able to speak it better. I can't speak it very well. But like if I'm standing in the line at Walmart, I can like make out what someone who's speaking Spanish next to me is saying.
I always said I had survivor mode Spanish. Like if I somehow got dropped off in the middle of Mexico, I could find my way
put enough
back
together. and communicate.
Yeah.
It's
So
interesting.
shout out to 3 years of Spanish in high school. Miss Orcitas, Miss Constance, and Coach Banda. I'm here because of you.
All right. Well, on the topic of Spanish, this next question is one posed to us by the Baja men. It was, who let the dogs out? And I feel like, John, your dog gets out all the time, so this may be a really good question for you.
Yes, my dog does get out all the time. If you live on the street with me, you are aware that my dog, his name is Clint Eastwood. He's a beagle.
Oh, it's actually Clint Eastwood. I thought it was just Clint.
His full name's Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
But Clint's easier to yell, so I yell Clint. We got that dog from Melina's brother, who named it after Clint Eastwood. And that dog is an escape artist. We've gone through so many different fences just trying to keep him contained.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Now we've got one of those wireless perimeter fences, and it allows him to be like 6 feet in our front yard. And so he looks like he's out every day. But he'll just like sleep in our flower bed. Like you'll roll up at our house and our dog's just there taking a nap on the flowers. But who let the dogs out? I'm going to go with my neighbor. My neighbor let the dog out.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question that comes to us from Madison Duty. Just I'm gonna go ahead and shout her out on that because that was pretty entertaining. That ended up in those questions. Hey, here's another one that's kind of probably unique to you. Maybe not. I don't know. Do you have any advice for someone sitting near a campfire with their feet propped up on the edge of the fire pit?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. So Blake is...
This comes from my wife, by the way. She submitted this question via email a couple weeks ago.
So I'll tell that story. So when I was a young lad, maybe...
I don't know when that was. Several years ago.
21.
Yeah.
22. And not 2021. I mean, like I was 21.
Yeah.
I was in Armor Bear or about to be in Armor Bear. I don't know. I was in college. And we did a camping trip with Blake and the other worship team members. And I had these boots on, a pair of Wolverine boots, and I put my feet on the little fire pit ring.
Yeah.
And it was there for about, 4 hours. And
long enough to get toasty.
Get nice and hot. And I looked at my shoe and I said, man, I think the rubber is melting. And like the highly intellectual man that I was in college, I said, oh man, I wonder if that's hot. And I put my hand right on the rubber, which if you're wondering, yes, it was burning hot. And I got melted tar all over my hand. So here I am, surrounded by grown men, screaming like a girl because I've now burnt my hand.
Yeah, it was
because of my
intense.
stupidity.
I mean, it's something. It's not that uncommon. We mess with you like, are you insane? But that's not the first time that's happened to people. So
I mean, my hand was on fire.
Yeah,
and we're camping, and I'm laying in my tent.
Yeah, this is my favorite part.
This is funny because
I remember this. I remember being in a tent not far away and hearing this.
And I promise I didn't say a single part of this for other people to hear.
Yeah.
I was having an honest conversation with God, with my Heavenly Father. And the fact is my voice just travels more than I wish it would at times. And I'm saying there like, Lord, if you'll just take this burn away, I promise to obey in anything you say. I'm like making all of these deals with the Lord.
It was one of those moments of desperation.
And Blake, your perspective on that moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could hear. At first, I couldn't make out what it was exactly, but I was like, I could hear some, almost like crying, like, oh gosh, And it was. I remember hearing, Lord, please make it stop. Please make it stop. This horrible third-degree burn on your hand.
So yeah, and like the great friends I had, none of them helped me, and I healed. I got over it eventually.
Yeah, it's all right. It happens.
So I guess you could say the Lord answered my prayer.
So this actually leads into the final question, and we can see what comes of this. What are some fond memories from when John was my AB, Armor Bear? So I don't know if you know this. John was one of my Armor Bears. He was the first Armor Bear that I had back in the day. So any interesting, fun, unique
I feel like
things?
I feel like there's a ton of stories we can go with this.
There could be, yeah.
One of my first interactions with Blake, he had me come over to his house for the sole purpose of watching like 8 hours worth of music videos.
We did.
Like that's all.
So I'll tell you this about John. John's musical taste at the time was purely like CCM. Like, that's all you had
to explain
growing up.
So I grew up in a household where if it's not Christian music, you weren't allowed to listen to it. And that's fine. That's just how I grew up. But I really wanted to listen to music other than, Chris Tomlin.
And I'll say this sounds weird coming from guys who worship pastors. Like, let me introduce you to this random artist. But the reality is that we're really, like, especially my arm bearers, I'm trying to push them to get outside of their normal box and say, okay, what are some other styles and genres of music that I need to know about and understand and possibly learn to bring that would be beneficial to the church?
Well, and it makes you a better musician.
Yeah, it makes you a better musician, and you can be more creative and create things for the Lord. That's kind of the road that we were trying to get to.
And so I guess around when I was 20 years old, I embarked on this adventure of learning all of this music.
Yeah.
Like I'd never listened to the Beatles. I'd never listened to the Eagles. I'd never listened to U2. I'd never listened to name a band. So I embarked on a journey, and Blake caught me, I guess, like a year and a half into that journey where I'm pretty much just devouring music, like listening to it as much as I possibly can. And so Blake kind of served as a guide in helping me find some artists. And there was a night that we listened to like 8 hours worth of music videos.
Yeah, so what's interesting, like Ashley was out of town, so I was like, hey, why don't you come stay at my house? We'll we'll listen to music, watch music, and then in the morning I got up and cooked deer sausage.
That was great.
Outside. It was cold that day, I remember that.
Great. That was when you still had Nash.
Yeah, that was when we lived here in town.
And you lived inside the loop.
Inside the loop, which is, it's been a while. But that was a good memory. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Whataburger a ton, and it was also a moment of just a lot of life-on-life discipleship, I feel like. I mean, we sometimes talk about discipleship in this very, like, romantic way. It's just, take a guy, bring him into your life, teach him the word, and also talk to him about his life.
Yeah.
Along the way, we brought Jason Hill along with us.
Yeah.
And Jason did this one particular thing about once a month. We would go to Whataburger to sit down and have breakfast, and I'd order, and then he'd look around, he'd look down at his pockets, he'd feel for his wallet, and he would look in Blake. He'd go, "Oh man, Blake, can you spot me?
If it were,
I think you paid for at least 15 of Jason's meals.
If it were anybody else, I'd be like, okay, you're just ripping me off. But knowing Jason, he forgot his wallet. Yeah.
So there was that. Man, I'm trying to think of some other weird things we got into. We did a band photo shoot. You remember that with Parker? And we found that. So I was at the time traveling for Dean Alves doing worship ministry stuff.
I forgot about that too.
And I was going to take Blake with me to something.
I think I only played like one gig.
Well, I think the gig got canceled, I think.
Or maybe so. I don't even think I even played it. I was going to play bass for it.
Yeah. And so we took all these weird photos. Those are floating around Instagram.
Yeah, that's right. Because the place that you were playing, they needed some promotional photos for.
Yeah, I was like, sure.
To put on a flyer or something like that. So, we went some random place that had a bunch of junk lying around. I remember that. Like a old couch sitting out in the middle of nowhere kind of deal.
There's some abandoned skateboard park in Nacogdoches.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
I don't remember.
I don't remember where, but...
Well, if you know, you can email us at stc@fredoniahill.org. Maybe we'll go take some photos. But
no, I'm trying to think if there are any more iconic stories from that time. Nothing really comes to mind just now, except for that one time when I stayed late, and it was my first semester. I didn't have a clue where anything was. And I slept the night at Kendall's and tried to get to the church that Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I had no idea which way I was going. And I had a flip phone at the time. I didn't have a smartphone. And I'm like sending cryptic text messages to Blake.
Yeah, you're like naming
random roads.
Yeah, like I'm looking at a white church.
Yeah, and I'm like out near Douglas and don't even know it.
Yeah.
And so I finally got there, but I think I slept through practice once or twice. So
that probably happened.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we have for the Q&A episode today. Short and sweet. Hey, very special episode coming up. Well, the next episode is actually John's last episode, and we have a very special guest in the episode. And I'll go tell you right now, it's good. It's real good. Someone very close to John.
I would say that they know more about me than anyone else in the world.
All right. So next episode, we have John's dog, Clint Eastwood. I'm just kidding. No, we've got a much better guest than that, but you will have to wait till next week to find out. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.
See y'all.